Hello everyone. This is our video lecture for Chapter 13, Adjective Clauses. We are just going to cover the first part of Chapter 13. I call it Part 1. This will cover roughly pages 270 through 276, the things that you need to know from those pages. Let's jump right in. Now, before we talk about the adjective clauses, I want to back up a little bit, review the noun clauses. That's what we had in Chapter 12, just to make sure you remember what the noun clauses are and can see very clearly how they are different from adjective clauses. So, a review of the noun clauses. Noun clauses can act as the object or the subject of a sentence. That is the function of a noun clause, to be like this object or be like the subject of a sentence. Now, if you look at just a very simple sentence here, I like this. I is my subject, like is my verb, this is my object. Can't get simpler than that. Very, very simple sentence there. Now here, what I have down here is the object is replaced by a clause. I like what you wrote. I is my subject, like is my verb. What do I like? What's the thing that I like? What you wrote. Same function as what I have up here. I like this. Now I just replace that noun with a complete clause, which acts as the object. And then over here, you can also have a noun clause act as the subject of the sentence. What you wrote is interesting. What is interesting? What is the subject? What you wrote. So that's basically what a noun clause is. And of course, we have the other noun markers also. So the question words, what, how, where, and so on. Whether and if, we had those for the noun clause markers as well. And we also had that, another very common noun clause marker. Well, now let's go on to the adjective clauses and see how they are quite different than the noun clauses. See, the adjective clauses. Adjective clauses describe a noun in a sentence. That's the key word there. These are clauses that describe a noun. You know what adjective means? An adjective is a word that describes a noun. Like a big man, a small man, a tall man. It's that sort of thing. Now we just have a whole clause which has the same function as an adjective. Let's look at an example. So here I don't have an adjective clause yet, but I do just have a nice adjective here. He is an interesting man. So what kind of man? What word describes the man? My simple one-word adjective, interesting. Could have something else here too. He is a tough man, he is a smart man, and so on. But that's what the adjective does. Here I have basically the same meaning, but now I'm using an adjective clause. He is a man who is interesting. My whole clause here functions to describe this noun. Now, compare with a noun clause, just to see the difference very clearly. With a noun clause, we can have something like this. I don't know who is interesting. I is my subject. Don't know is my verb. And what's the thing? The thing I don't know? Who is interesting. In this sentence, who is interesting is a noun clause. It's acting as my object. But in this sentence here, you can see it has a different function. It's acting as an adjective clause. It's describing another noun in my sentence. Okay, I hope that is clear enough. You can, of course, review the book again or rewind the video and check that again if it's not. But we're going to move on. Now, adjective clause markers, just to know what we're working with here. Who is a very common adjective clause marker. It is used for describing people. There's an example. I don't know anyone who owns a yacht. A yacht, one of those really big, huge boats that rich people have. There is my adjective clause. It is describing a person. I don't know any person who owns a yacht. So that's where we use who for. Which is another adjective clause marker. It is used for things. The car which is parked outside is mine. Here I have my adjective clause right in the middle of the sentence. Let's make me go back a little bit, sorry. And then which is a thing. Car is not a person, so I can't say the car who is parked. That does not make sense. Which works well in that case. And then our last one, only 3 to worry about for adjective clause markers, and it's that. That can be used for both people and things. Very flexible, a very flexible marker there. I don't know anyone that owns a yacht. The same as I had up here. I could say who owns a yacht. I could say that owns a yacht. Both are fine. The car that is parked outside is mine. Here I used which for the same sentence. Here I used that for the same sentence. No problem. Both are okay. They have that flexibility. Now, in our class, we will try exercise 2, page 271. That is something that, if you're doing this by video lecture, it's something that you should do as home for your homework now. Maybe pause the video, get that done, and then come back. But do a little bit of practice before we move on. Now, this is another practice that we have. In the class, we would do this as a speaking. This is just finishing the sentences how you would like to. I like teachers who... How would you finish that sentence? Right? Describe the kind of teachers that you like with a good adjective clause. People who amaze me. Right? Describe the people who amaze you. I don't like people who... Let me finish that sentence. Friends who do what? Frustrate me. It's another one. These are some of my own answers to that. I like teachers who are passionate about their subject. When I was a student, I always found those classes the most interesting, a teacher who really loved the subject that she was teaching or he was teaching. People that volunteer to help others amaze me. I could have said who here. But remember, that is flexible. You can throw it in anywhere. I don't like people who are inconsiderate. I go back to the who again. Inconsiderate, people who don't think about the needs of others. Friends that only call when they need help frustrate me. Right? What kind of friends frustrate me? Can you describe those friends? Here's my nice adjective clause that does that. Friends that, I don't know, maybe they're not really true friends now, are they? If they only call when they need help. Now, this is exercise 4, page 271. In the class, we'll probably do this as a speaking exercise. But if you're doing this just at home for homework, go ahead and complete these sentences. And then maybe in the next class, we'll have some time to practice them, share with your friend, with your partners, and so on. All right, let's move along. Now, here's the other main point of today's lesson, just one more. Adjective clause, object pronouns. Now, let's jump in and see what that means. The adjective clauses we have seen so far, the clause pronoun, who, that, or which, are clause markers, functions as a subject in the clause. They always have before. So let me show. I don't know anyone who owns a yacht. Just look at my adjective clause only. In this little sentence, where is the subject? Where is the verb? Where is the object? Only look at my adjective clause. And you can see quite clearly here that who does this verb. Who owns, there's my verb, and then that's the yacht. In almost all the, in all the examples we have shown so far, the who, that, and which has acted as the subject in the adjective clause. Now, we can also have adjective clauses in which the clause pronoun is the object in the clause. Let me show you an example. The car that I bought yesterday is parked outside. Look at this sentence here, the little clause here. In this clause only, don't worry about the other part of the sentence, the independent clause. In my adjective clause only, what is the subject? What is the verb? What is the object? Take a look at that. If you find it a little bit confusing, this is basically what the sentence is saying there, right? I bought the car. Right? The car that you're talking about, I bought it. I bought the car. That might give you the hint that you need. In the adjective clause, I is the subject. I'm the one who did the verb. I bought, what did I buy? The car. That is acting as the car. It's kind of repeating that again. So basically, subject, verb, and then the marker is actually the object of my clause. It's just the object. Now, why is it important to know this, to be able to remember when is the marker the subject of the sentence, subject of the clause, or when the marker is the object of the clause? Why do you need to know that? For your speaking, for the test, of course. This is why. Object pronouns in adjective clauses are special in that they can be omitted. Omitted. They can be left out of the sentence. They're optional. So here's the sentence I had first. The car that I bought yesterday is parked outside. There is my marker, my pronoun acting as the object. There's my subject. There's my verb. This sentence is also possible. The car I bought yesterday is parked outside. What's missing here? What did I take out? My object pronoun. Right? I took out that. And it's fine. This sentence is great. This sentence is great. That's the flexibility that you have with an adjective clause with an object pronoun. Now, keep in mind, this cannot be done with the subject pronouns in adjective clauses. If I show you an example, I think that becomes clear quite quickly. This is one of our earlier sentences. I like teachers who are helpful. Who is my subject in this clause? It's acting as a subject. This sentence is nice. This sentence is not so nice. I like teachers are helpful. It doesn't work. I can't take my subject out. The sentence just does not make sense or becomes very, very confusing. And grammatically, it just looks pretty bad. So this one is just not possible. So again, if it's the object pronoun, the car that I bought yesterday, keep that in or take that out. It's your option. But if your object marker is the subject, don't take it out. It has to stay in the clause. All right, I hope that is clear. Exercise 7 on page 273 is a good place to practice that. I think on 272 you can review that box again if this was not so clear for you. That should do it for the first part. If you have any questions, visit me during my office hours. In our next class, we'll probably have a quick review. Maybe we can catch it there. A chance for your questions as well. Bye-bye.